So people seem to like my stories when I tell them on the Spawncast. So I thought, you know what? Let's maybe tell some stories on this channel. I don't know how deep I'll go into all of these stories. How deep down the RGT rabbit hole goes is pretty fucking deep. So I don't know how crazy we'll get with this, but we'll tell some stories here. If this video gets a good reaction, maybe I'll follow it up with some more. But today we're going to talk about the first time that I got arrested, put in cuffs, brought down to the good old magistrate's office. And I'm not sitting here to glorify this behavior or glorify these actions, because obviously they were stupid actions, but I feel like, I could look back and reflect on them and just sort of learn something from them. And maybe someone who's having a rough day will laugh at the story, laugh at my misfortunes, or, maybe realize, hey, that's probably not a good life to be doing. So I'm 16 years old. The only things I care about are partying, girls, and skateboarding. Like, that was it. I didn't care about my future, and I didn't care about what I was gonna do. I was living day to day. And 16 can be actually a pretty stressful time. People say, oh, when you're a teenager you don't have a care in the world, but you constantly have people like breathing down your neck, like society, like, what are you gonna do? Where are you gonna go to college? What are you gonna major in? And it's like so fucking crazy to me, because so many people like just get forced into something and then they get miserable and then they end up never finishing it. And then you have all this student debt. So my philosophy is go to community college, go to a trade school or something, figure out if that's what you want to do, or if you just want to jump into the workforce. Don't go to a big college just to go and then you get in debt or your family gets in debt or something like that. There's a little life lesson for you. But 16 years old, it's the summertime, and it's time to party. It's time to party a little bit. So I call up Big Matt. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, come to the house. Come to the house. I'm like, why? He's like, oh, my parents are out of town. So, like I said, I'm 16. Big Matt is like 20 at this point. Matt is no longer with us. He passed away to drug addiction. R.I.P. Matt. I miss you, brother. But he was like my big brother. And he got me into a lot of shit. And a lot of these people in these stories get me into a lot of shit. But they had hearts of gold. They always looked out for me. They always cared. Most of these people, I should say, they always cared about me. They always looked out for me, even when I was just going off the deep end. So, they're very important people in my life. So I go over to Big Matt's house, and Matt is like 6'4", 300 pounds. He's like this big dude. And so Matt has a very nice house. His parents are very well off. They're very well known in the community. His brother actually runs a bar, so we can get whatever we want. So I go over there. We've got a gallon of Aristocrat vodka, because that was my favorite. We start sipping a little. He's cooking up some chicken stir fry, putting vodka in the chicken stir fry, and he's like, yo, you want some pain pills? I'm like, oh, what do you got, big buddy? He's like, oh, my dad just had surgery and he left his pain pills here. I'll give you some if you want. I was like, yeah, sure. Cool. I love downers. I was a downers guy, which is weird because a lot of people who like to pick on me are like, oh, he's a crackhead. And it's like, I never did uppers. In my heyday, I never did uppers. I was always a downer guy. So he gives me a couple Laura sets, as he calls them, and those big ass blue pills. I'm like, dude, I've never seen Laura sets that look like this. And he's like, no, they're Laura sets, trust me. I'm like, okay. So wash them down with some vodka, eat some food, drink some more vodka, and I'm already feeling it. Like, it's like 8 o'clock at night, and I'm already just gone off my ass, because I when I would drink back in the day, I would just want to drink fast, get fucked up, and then just do whatever and not have to worry about anything. So he's like, all right, we're going out. Let's see if anything's popping tonight. I'm like, okay. So I remember getting in this Mitsubishi Montero that had a very nice sound system in it. And we're driving along, and we go to Sonic, because Sonic was kind of one of the main meetup points. You had the Sam Goody parking lot, you had Sonic, and you had the Harris Teeter parking lot. And if you couldn't find anything at those three parking lots, it was a wash for the night. There wasn't going to be any parties. There wasn't going to be anything like that. So we go up to Sonic. We're hanging out. And I remember I'm sitting there in the passenger seat, and I look at him. I'm like, Matt, something's wrong, dude. He's like, what? I was like, dude, my dick is so fucking hard right now. And he's like, oh, it's probably because I gave you some Viagra before. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, dude, those weren't pain pills. Those were Viagra. I just wanted to see what would happen if you took some. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? So I'm dating a girl at this time, my high school sweetheart, who I may have cheated on a few times. And so now my dick is just like raging hard. And I'm like, Matt, we got to do something. This is insane. Like, I don't feel good. My dick is hard as shit. I can barely walk. So this girl that I had been hooking up with on the side happened to come up there. So I'm like, get in the back of the Montero. Get in the back of the Montero now. I'm like, Matt, get the fuck out of the car. So I end up banging her in the backseat of the Montero. Matt didn't care because I guess he was just playing like my older brother this night. And so, you know, in the middle of Sonic, by the way, people are like literally walking by the car. I didn't care. You know, nobody really said anything. It was just how the town was. And so she ends up leaving after we're done. Matt comes back over and he is like, you know, there's really nothing happening here. We got to go to Harris Teeter. I'm like, okay. So we go to the Harris Teeter parking lot, and Matt's talking with this guy. I didn't know his name. I wasn't friends with this guy. All I knew him by was his car. He had a gold Nissan Maxima on 22-inch spokes. And at this time, to have like anything higher than 18s meant that you were probably doing something that you shouldn't be doing, or you were just very conscious about your money. But knowing this individual, the little I knew about him, I knew what Matt was doing. He was trying to score some shit that probably was the shit that ended up killing him. He ended up dying on a bad speedball. So he's probably trying to score some shit. So I'm sitting in the car and I get out of the car and I'm trying to walk and I can't. Like, my legs are just gone. So I remember I'm standing there next to the Maxima and I look inside, and the next thing I know, I'm on the ground and there's puke just on the whole side of his car. And I'm looking up and it's just like dripping down. And I'm like, oh my God, this motherfucker's gonna kill me. And so I'm like, I'm sorry, man, I'm sorry. The dude is just freaking out, like screaming at me, going to his car to get who knows what. So Matt thankfully jumps in. He's like, bro, chill. I got you. Here's $50. You know, sorry, go get your car washed. If you want, I'll meet you over at the car wash and I'll wash it for you. He's really fucked up. He's just having a rough night. You know, just leave him be. And I remember the guy was just yelling. I couldn't really understand what he was saying, but Matt's just like, yo, chill out. Please just chill out. You know, it'll be okay. I will wash the car for you if I have to. I'll get it detailed for you, whatever. So he gave the guy $50 and he sort of calmed down. And then I don't really remember what happened after this. I remember we went back to Matt's house at some point, and now it's like 1 a.m. And so I'm like, okay, fuck this. I'm going to sleep. Like, I'm tired. It's been a night already, and you know, whatever. And so Will, our buddy Will, comes over, and Will was like 21-ish. And so he's like, oh, you guys got any beer? And Matt was like, no, we're out. And Will was like, oh, I need beer. We got to go get beer. So he's like, yo, you want to go for a ride? I'm like, all right, we'll go to the gas station. And that's where I fucked up. I should have just stayed in bed. I should have just minded my own business, because as we're going to the gas station now at 1:30 in the morning, blue lights are on behind us. And I'm like, fuck. I'm like, dude, I'm not fucking driving your car. He had a Mustang GT with like nice rims and like a sound system and stuff. I was, dude, I'm not fucking driving your car. You're crazy. You know, if you're getting a Dewey, I don't know what the fuck's gonna happen to me. So they come up to him, they're, you know, flashing the lights and stuff. They tell him get out of the car. They make him do a sobriety test. Now I'm tripping balls. I had just gotten off probation for underage drinking. I was on 6 months unsupervised. And like, this is like literally weeks after that. And I'm just tripping balls. So I grab his cell phone and I call my girlfriend, who was at the beach at this time. I'm like, baby, this isn't good. She's like, what's wrong? I was like, we just got pulled over. Will's getting a sobriety test. I don't think he's going to pass. I'm fucked up beyond belief. I can't drive this car. I don't know what to do. And she's like, well, just calm down. They're not going to do anything to you. You're just in the passenger seat. I'm like, oh, okay, true. So I'm like, all right, I'll call you back later. So I hang up the phone, and right as I hang up the phone, there's a flashlight like right here in my face. And I'm like, ah! And the guy's like, how you doing tonight, sir? And I'm like, I'm okay. And he's like, you seem a little out of it. I was like, I don't feel well. And he was like, why don't you step out of the car and talk to me? I was like, I'd rather not. And then he was like, no, step out of the car and talk to me. I tried to step out of the car. I gave it an honest effort, and I kind of fell. There was like a little ditch on the side of the road, and I kind of fell into the ditch, and I couldn't really get up. So he assisted me by getting me up and then putting my hands behind my back and handcuffing them. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? What are you fucking doing to me? He was like, you're going to the magistrate's office, and we'll figure this out when we get down there. And I'm like, no fucking way. I'm like, dude, I didn't do anything. Like, I'm just sitting here minding my own business. And he is like, yeah, you're also really fucked up on something, so we're bringing you in. And I'm like, oh my God. Will some fucking how passes the sobriety test with flying fucking colors. So I'm the only one that's going in for anything. And I'm like sitting in the back of this cop car and Will is following. And I'm just like, this is fucking insane. So we get down to the magistrate's office, which is about 10 miles from where we were. And now it's like 2:15 in the morning. So they're figuring out what they're going to do. They're like, well, we're not going to book you. We're not going to put you in jail. I'm like, oh, thank God. I'm like, okay. So they'll probably just give me a citation. I'll talk to my parents about it the next day. We'll figure something out. And he's like, we're going to call your parents and have them come pick you up. And I'm like, just book me. Just book me for the night. Please. Just put me in a cell for the night. Let me sleep it off and then let me go in the morning. Like, no, we're going to call your parents. So they pretty much took Will's phone and looked for the house number because cell phones weren't all that common at the time. And they got my parents' number. So then I have a breakdown. I'm just like, Dad, I can't fucking do this. So I'm just sitting there screaming. There's tears coming down my face. And Will's like, no, dude, it'll be all right. It'll be all right. And I'm like, dude, you're waking up my fucking dad and my mom at 2:30 in the morning to drive a half hour to come down here and pick me up. It will not be all right. It'll be the furthest thing from all right. So, I remember watching my parents come in and, my dad just looked disgusted. My mom was upset. And I was like, I'm sorry. And they're like, oh, it's okay. Don't, things happen. Don't worry about it. I'm like, oh, okay. I like the sound of this. Maybe everything will be okay. Little did I know this was just a front for the cops, because right when we walked out of the magistrate's office and out of the building, like I was walking and then like my feet were walking, but I wasn't touching the ground because my dad had me like by the scruff of my neck in my shirt and was just like pulling me up and just like slamming me into the backseat of the car. And I'm like, oh man, this isn't going to be a good ride home. And so like I rolled down the window. I was like, thanks, Will. See you later. And, so Will ends up going back to Matt's house. I get screamed at the whole ride home for the inconvenience, for the fact that now there's going to be more lawyer fees and stuff like that. And for the fact that, they had to wake up at 2:30, 3 in the morning to come pick my ass up. So long story short, I ended up getting unsupervised probation again for another 6 months. Lots of things happened within those 6 months as well. Maybe I'll tell those stories one day. Maybe I won't. I don't remember what ended up happening. I know I was grounded for a few months. Not a few months. I was grounded for a few weeks. I couldn't go out and party or anything like that. I had to be home at night. I couldn't be out at night. And, I had to pay my parents back some of the lawyer fees and stuff. We had a very good lawyer. There was a lawyer who would do work for all the boys, all of us that were in high school or had just gotten out of high school. Like he was like the best dude, and so we all used them. But yeah, so that was the first time RGT got arrested. Wasn't the last time. There's a few more arrest stories. Maybe I'll tell those one day. Maybe I won't. I hope you guys got a laugh out of this though, because I've lived a very, very bizarre life with a lot of weird situations. But the whole point is to laugh about it, because looking back on it, like, yes, it was a stupid decision, but it is what it is. It is what it is. So, all right. Hope you got a laugh. Maybe I'll tell another story again. Maybe I won't. But that's the infamous first time I got arrested. Goodbye.